Without Remorse, out on Amazon, directed by Stefano Solima, who has previously done the second part of Sicario. The script was co-written by Taylor Sheridan and Will Staples, and the film stars Michael B. Jordan, Jodie Turner-Smith, Jamie Bell, and Guy Pearce. It's marketed as based on a novel written by Tom Clancy, but I have to say that is basically a straight-up lie. The only things that the two have in common is the title, the name of the protagonist, and the fact that he's a Navy SEAL. From what I've learned, the novel takes place in the 1970s and the plot concerns mainly drug dealers, whereas this one takes place in the modern day and the story centers around CIA and a mysterious Russian plot seemingly aimed at American special forces. So they're really completely different. So in the opening sequence of the film, a Navy SEAL team, including John Kelly, played by Jordan, does a hostage retrieval operation in Aleppo. The hostage was meant to be held by Syrian soldiers, but actually it turns out that it's the Russians, and clearly there's more going on that the CIA doesn't want to let on. Several months later, back in the US, several members of that SEAL team are suddenly assassinated in pretty violent ways. And for John Kelly, the home invasion ends up with him killing several of the attackers, one escaping, but then he fails to save his pregnant wife's life, and he himself ends up in a hospital severely wounded. When he finally gets out, the CIA decides not to investigate further, and he decides to take matters into his own hands. He wants to learn who killed his wife, what was the connection to the Aleppo mission, what the CIA is hiding, and of course take his revenge. So it's a pretty straightforward film, an action movie with a lot of shooting and an underlying plot which has this central mystery of who and why. And while the why of things is in fact kept secret for a long time, the who is unfortunately utterly predictable and obvious from the start. So there's not really a lot of engagement coming from being invested in the story and in the mystery. Unfortunately, the set pieces are done quite competently, and this part of the film managed to keep me interested. The shooting is exciting and tense, and yeah, John Kelly does seem like a superhero at times in terms of how much he can take and how much he can dish out, but I just rolled with it. It was fine. There's a cool sequence beginning with a team trying to perform a halo jump from a plane, but things go wrong while they're still on board. I also like the longest action scene at the end of Act 2 with the team being trapped under a fire in a Russian building. I didn't particularly care for the climax of the film because I felt it just fell flat, especially compared to the things before it. It just seemed like John goes through all those life-threatening situations which escalate higher and higher, and then at the very end he just gets his revenge without any hassle, makes it look very easy. So I don't think there's any particular anything particularly great or terrible, to be honest, in terms of the cinematography or the music. In general, it's okay across the board. It's a film that never surprised me, and it was precisely what I expected of it. Some solid action with a so-so thriller plot, carried mostly by charismatic performances. It's an alright film, even if it will probably be disappointing as an adaptation to the fans of the book. And also there's a mid-credits scene teasing a sequel, so make sure you don't turn it off too quickly.